to have a guest panel of amazing entrepreneurs. And the first one I'll start to introduce is Faith Kui, who's an award-winning entrepreneur, a passionate impact maker and a change maker across Africa. And at the same time, I also have Derek Banga, who's an icon in terms of public image here in Kenya. Faith, how are you?
I'm good, I'm good.
So tell me first, before we get into the topic of today, tell me what got you into pursuing these big goals of making change in your community?
I've always really been passionate about making a difference and plugging into something that has me as part of the solution.
You're CFO of Barefoot, right?
Yes, I am.
So going from wanting to make a change to actually being in the private sector making the change, there was a time when you actually felt like you had to raise your standards, like you had to pursue something bigger than what was around you. So what was that click? What actually made you want to move?
I think, which is one of the values that you have and I think have to build over years, is that desire to grow and to be better and to actually be the best version of yourself that you possibly can be. So then constantly evaluating and looking at where am I at today and what potential do I have to be what I possibly can be. You know, if I push myself to the end of my limit, what person do I become and what are the things that I then need to tap into to be able to fix those gaps that get me there. Yeah.
I like that part of pushing yourself beyond your limits. I myself am driven by achieving things that other people find impossible. And I come to you, Derek. You are helping people become better. You're helping them develop skills. You're helping them get out of their comfort zone. So what got you to get out of your comfort zone?
I'll start with a quote, Chico. Barbara Walters, who is a famous, in fact I'll use the word venerable journalist, which means she's been in the game for eons, since the 60s. She's interviewed kings, queens, dictators. She said, and I quote, "It is not too melodramatic to say that your destiny hangs on your image and your brand." Destiny. That's what brought me to doing what I am doing today. On September 11th, 2001, the Twin Towers collapsed in New York City. I was living in the city at the time. I lost 3 close colleagues when the South Tower collapsed. I went home in the evening and I put my finger on my sill and I came up with dust and ash from the collapsed towers. But for the grace of God, I could have been in there with one of our many clients. And I said, I want my destiny to be such that I am remembered for something on this earth. And what is it that I can do that will leave a mark? That brought me into my current vocation, career, calling, helping professionals be seen, be heard, and to be remembered for the right reason.
I like that, because you're talking about legacy here, right? And what we can all agree on is that what drives a high achiever is something bigger than themselves. Tell me about when you decided to pursue these goals of yours. How was it, the people that you interacted with, especially, let's say, the boyfriends, the dates? How was it when you talk with them about your big ambitions? What was awkward for you?
It's interesting because then I think the more you let yourself grow to those levels, then the more you need people who are like-minded to be able to, one, understand what it is that you're aiming for, and two, to be able to support you around that. So I remember, after I finished my university, I really wanted to pursue my master's, and I thought at the time that my current boyfriend back then he was a genius, he should have been doing his CFA. I didn't understand why that wasn't happening. But for him, he was like, I have a good job, why are you pushing me to do things that I don't want to do? So as a result, you then have to keep ensuring that you're surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded and people that are going to push you to even go higher, I think.
Okay. Derek.
Well, I won't talk about a girlfriend. My relationship to women is rather complicated, let me put it that way. But I will talk about a very close friend of mine who was working in the banking industry at the time in Kenya when I had repatriated. And I remember when I started this venture, he came to me and said, Derek, people don't really need these skills. We already know them. In fact, what he was telling me is this is not going to work. Fast forward 5 years later, and he called me up of his own volition and said, Derek, I need you to come and work with my team. I think this has gone from a nice to have, certainly the areas that I talk about, to a must have. You must have these skills in your toolbox in order to be a high achiever or to succeed.
Okay. So I like that word complicated, and I'm going to stay there a bit. So let's say that a young professional, high-achieving young woman who's at the executive level in an organization comes to you for personal coaching. And you know that for her to move forward, she has to break some barriers. She has to go beyond what she has been doing already for many years. And so you start to walk this journey with her, and you realize that a lot of the things that is holding her back from achieving her highest and fullest potential is actually those complications, right? So what would you advise her?
Okay, I can break it down into 4 areas. That's just general areas. I would start by working perhaps on her confidence. I think confidence is the most attractive component of value that someone can have, and confidence certainly in the professional workplace, and certainly as it relates to women. Confident in yourself, your abilities, your technical acumen, academic qualifications, and so on and so forth. Number 2, perhaps I would work on bringing passion. Now, when I talk about passion, I'm actually talking about bringing a kind of energy, a kind of enthusiasm, a kind of excitement to your role. And it's not just about necessarily how you sound, but even how you walk. You mentioned body language, how you carry your body. There is an energy that is palpable for high achievers, and certainly for women, that's one of the areas I would work with. And then thirdly, I would work on packaging. We make up our minds about people very quickly, and a lot of it is based on the visual, what I see. So how do you package yourself in this environment in order for you to be successful? And then fourthly, I would probably work with this lady in terms of standing out. There's a talk that I give, and the title of that talk is Wear Orange Shoes. Orange shoes, why? Because orange shoes will make you stand out.
Faith. There's a term I learned here in Kenya, vumilia. Is it vumilia? Yeah. So that term is not just Kenyan. I don't know the term in my language back home, but that mindset exists in many places, where the women are taught that you should, stay in the box, you should fit in, or you should accept the circumstances. So I ask you, what is your aspiration and happiness in terms of your future? What would make you happy in terms of relationship, in terms of finances, in terms of your work? Where would you see yourself happy in the next 20 years?
I think freedom is very important for me. And I think freedom in the sense that there's the liberty to be everything that you possibly can be, and to be able to tap into whatever it is that you require to be that. So a good example is I want to start a fund by 35, and it's quite ambitious, but it is doable. And basically, I have begun to surround myself with people who think of this as a possibility. And with that, then I can have conversations with people who say things like, I want to start a fund, and they say, oh yeah, I know where you can get money, Clinton Foundation, for example, or something around that, which is totally amazing. But I believe in that freedom to be that. But I think 20 years from now, I should have some kids somewhere. So, which then really has changed my perspective over the years.
So tell me, have kids with whom? What does this guy look like? How does he think? How does he walk? Maybe he's in this room. You never know.
It's so risky. Oh my god, the cameras are on the So, and oh boy, this is not good. So,
I just felt
so first and foremost, why, there's the change of definition where I'm not just looking for a man to be my husband, but also for a father for my kids. And I'd love to have 2 boys. So by virtue of that, I think this man then becomes a role model to my kids. And when I look down the line, then I ask, what do I want my kids to be? I'd love to raise a president someday, I hope, I pray. But if then those are the standards that I want to live by, then this guy needs to be a few things that he can actually pass down to the kids. Yeah, and it's one, integrity. That's like, there's no two ways about that. Mainly because I think I have seen how marriages have the potential to either boost you or really just break you. And if you are then in a relationship with somebody who lacks integrity, then one bad deal just takes down all the hard work of the years. Also vision, because I need to know if you're leading me to a ditch, I need to know how deep is it, where is the ditch, do I want to be in the ditch, you know? And basically...
Are you going to be digging in the ditch?
Exactly, what are we going to do? Are we going to own the ditch? Aquarium, maybe, I don't know. But it's very important to know what is your vision, and I'm talking 5 years from now, for example, and do I want to plug into it? Do I see any synergies between what I'm doing and what you're up to that could actually help us be partners and being able to accomplish that? And also, intellectual stimulation is a must. I think just being able to run home with a business idea and have somebody push you and say, yeah, I validate it, but more importantly, somebody who says, baby, this is crap, I think you can do better, you know? So critic and also sort of like words of
someone
affirmation.
challenging.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I ask you the same question, Derek. Your ideal wife or your ideal partner, someone who can help you help more people, what would she look like?
What will she look? What will she look like?
Look and look.
Okay, maybe these 3 are most important to me at this stage in my life. I'll start with personality. I think I'm sort of drawn towards personalities that perhaps are opposite of mine, a little different. Let me put it that way. I think that when you have 2 different personalities, you can actually create something that is wonderful and that is meaning. And I am certainly drawn towards certain personalities. So personality would be key on that list of attributes I'm looking for in a future Mrs. Banga. Secondly, I like what Faith said, intellectually. Again, I think the sexiest muscle in the body is the brain. I want to be challenged, stimulated. I certainly don't want a yes woman. I'm not saying that every conversation has to be an argument, but certainly I'm all for a healthy exchange of ideas and not necessarily agreeing on everything. Agree to disagree, as the cliche goes. And then thirdly, I'm a man, so why lie? Chemistry. Absolutely, even at this late stage, I'm looking for somebody who there is...
Early stage.
Yeah, why am I shooting myself in the foot and saying it? At this early, late stage. No, chemistry for sure. Yeah.
Welcome back to another series of questions with my amazing panel of guests, Faith Kui and Derek Banga. So this question will be to you, Derek. You train a lot of high achievers, politicians, athletes, entertainers, business owners, CEOs, executives. And while you're training them on how to improve their personal image, I'm sure you also get to have that one-on-one interaction where you learn how they think and how they behave and what are their fears and their aspirations. So what can you tell us about a high achiever in general?
That's a great question, Chico. For me, I found that people who are successful, high achievers, they have certain things in common. And I'll actually break it down to you in the form of a formula. I call it the CASH formula, but it's not cash with a C, this is cash with a K. And it's an acronym. So the K is for knowledge. High achievers are constantly searching and seeking knowledge. And not just knowledge in the areas that they're experts on, but even knowledge in other areas. Constantly reading, for example, looking for new information, and being selective actually with where that knowledge comes from. I know many successful CEOs who, for example, don't own a TV, because for them, the TV perhaps is not giving them the sort of knowledge that they're seeking. They would rather find it in reading The Economist or something like that.
It's like a distraction.
It's like a distraction, exactly. So knowledge and being selective with the knowledge that you bring in. The A is for attitude. Their attitude towards, I'm going to use this as an example. What is your attitude towards your bed? For some people, the bed is their sanctuary. Saturday morning will find somebody in that bed until
Someone takes it out of them. Yeah.
11 or 12 o'clock. In other words, it's an attitude towards certain things. It's an attitude that is different from other people. In Kenya, we call it the kawa. They avoid the kawa. They will not sleep for 8 hours. They will sleep for 4 hours. Their attitude towards time, their attitude towards working late, their attitude towards working hard to achieve their goals and not take shortcuts. That is what I found high achievers have in common. Reframing their attitude towards certain things.
Work ethic.
Yes, so work ethic, for example. S is for skills. Now, I occupy the space of soft skills. And to me, soft skills have become the most important criteria for success. In a world where everybody has a degree, everybody has some sort of qualification, what separates those who are high achievers from the also-rans is soft skills. That soft skills basket, that toolbox contains a lot. For example, communication skills. Do you know, I have found that for CEOs, the most important leadership tool is not management, it is public speaking. The ability to influence other people with how you put your words across. That's in the basket of soft skills.
Selling a vision, getting people to buy into it, getting them to move towards it.
How are you going to be the general of an army if you cannot rally the troops around you? So skills, soft skills, absolutely. If you want to become a high achiever, you need to fill your toolbox with soft skills. And the H is for habits. High achievers have success work habits, routines to shine, like reading, getting up early, exercising, and so on and so forth.
Faith, you're a Mandela Washington Yali Fellow, which is a great achievement in itself. You were recently nominated and then you won the award for Future Energy Leader of Africa, right? Where it was you and other individuals who are in the energy sector across Africa, you were selected as the best. You've gone skydiving.
Yes,
or bungee jumping, right?
Both. And paragliding.
And paragliding.
Yes.
So you are an award-winning young entrepreneur, but at the same time you're a daredevil, right? That scares away a lot of people, doesn't it? But what's your next challenge? What is it that you have on your next plate that you want to achieve?
I'm applying for Stanford
Okay.
MBA. So that's going to be something else. I just started my CFA classes today morning, so that means I have zero time, but 24 hours is miraculously a lot of time.
It is.
It is a lot of time. But I have a simple rule. I remember sitting down and actually looking at my calendar and my time, and I figured we're so keen to look at what we do between 8 and 5, but we never really pay attention to the 5 to about midnight when we go to bed. But think about it, that's 8 hours of working and getting paid for it, but then there's a whole other 6 hours that should be getting you at least close to what you're earning.
And even more.
And more. And so I remember doing that analysis, I was like, okay, 6 hours, that's enough to run my company, which is what I do after work, and also study, and apply for all these amazing things we have to do.
So the MBA, right?
Yeah.
It's not just an MBA. I don't believe that people just get MBA so that you can have it on your business card. What is it for you?
Networks. I need to be able in a few years to want to close a deal, and I have like 4 people on my network that know exactly what is happening around the world. Because there is so much fire networks. It's one thing to know what you're doing, it's another one to be able to know all the right people to sort of like be the triggers. So Stanford gives you that, and also for validation.
Derek, my final question to you is, where do you see yourselves in the next 10, 15 years? What is it that you would like to be remembered for?
What I do, I would like individuals, professionals, companies to take this as a must-have, not a nice-to-have. I would love every single organization or company, say in East Africa, to say we're going to go through some sort of soft skills training for our staff. I want my legacy to be, have somebody walk up to me at the supermarket 10 years from now and say, I remember what you said 10 years ago, and you helped me achieve my goals. I still do that to this day because of what you said. So my legacy really is about touching individuals and hopefully helping them become all they can be and be the success that everybody, I think, has in themselves.
It was a great pleasure to have you both on this panel. You have inspired me, and I'm sure you've inspired a lot of other people today who have seen in you images of people that they would aspire to and hopefully even go beyond what you're pursuing right now. We're going to take another break, and thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome once again to the Gentleman Show. Now we enter our last session of today's show, and I'm very happy and honored to host in Kenya Dream Williams Debo. Thank you. So Dream Williams Debo is a Liberian actor, film producer, and one of the pioneers of the Liberian movie industry. He traveled at some point of his life, went to Ghana, had a lot of success there, and then went to Nigeria as well, had a lot of success there. And recently, you were selected for an award, which is going to be given tomorrow. An award with the likes of Don Jazzy, Wizkid, Helen Paul, and a lot of great entertainers across Africa. So it's a great honor to have you here in Kenya.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get into the film industry and production?
Well, I think it has always been my passion. I grew up as an actor, and I started officially in 2009. That was back home in Liberia, and then I saw that our industry is a small one, so I had to go to Hollywood. But then I started from Hollywood, that's Ghana, and then I worked there severally, and then went to Nigeria, Hollywood, and worked there severally when I saw that I had made a mark. So I decided, okay, fine, it's time to go home and think about building our industry.
Freedom is a movie produced in Liberia with a very low budget, but which is amazing. When I watched it, I was moved. The scenes, the blood, the war, and the actors, and the passion, and the people running from, when the rebels entered the villages, when people were running, they were getting shot as they were running. You actually rebuilt the exact scenes from nothing. So that makes you a one-of-a-kind innovator. So what brought you to make that type of movie? And what were the positive and negative consequences that also came from making that movie?
I was filming in Nigeria when I heard that a group of filmmakers from Hollywood came to Liberia to do a film about the Liberian Civil War. So then they successfully did it, and they called it Johnny Mad Dog. Maybe you may have seen it online and so forth. So when I got home, I watched the film, and I saw that it was not our story. And we stayed a month plus on set in the bush. And when we shot it, I gladly came in town. We edited it with all the effects and makeup and all that. And then when we released it, there was a huge press conference. And I was called by our information minister, and he asked me, how did you do this? And I explained. And then he's like, wow, have you met the defense minister? I said, no, I met the deputy defense minister, not the minister. And he stopped me. He said, okay, I'm going to schedule a meeting with the defense minister in your interest. He did it. So when this defense minister watched this movie, he was amazed, and then he said, wow. So who stopped you? I said, your deputy. He told me not to do it. And then he said, are you going to extend the story? Because this is not the full story. I said, of course, I'm going to shoot about 3 and 4 of this as an extension. And then he said, count on me for whatever you need for it. So I felt like a hero.
Here you are in Kenya, right? You came with a friend. She's a friend of mine as well, Rachel Wainaina. She's the CEO of the Film Village of Kenya. So Rachel has a vision of building the largest film village in Africa. Now that you're working with her here in Kenya, how has been your experience for the past few weeks that you've been here?
Well, Rachel is such an amazing person, and she has this drive to sort of help people turn talents into a profession, and that's what moves me. I mean, she's this one woman who has been striving with this vision, with or without sponsorship. She's been doing it, and when I came to Kenya, I told her I want to see everything that you do. Of course, we were discussing partnerships, so I need to see everything that you do. And then she took me to somewhere called Nanyuki.
Oh, Nanyuki.
Nanyuki. Sorry. I went there and I saw a huge classroom like this, full of like 150 students studying filmmaking.
Wow.
And that was amazing.
And they're doing it for free. They're paying a small token, but it's sponsored.
Yes, definitely. Free. And because, think about it, filmmaking, unlike a lot of profession, for me is very unique. Because it's don't only educate, it gives you exposure, it gives you, chance to interpret your story and the lives of your country's story through, visual works. So and then they turn your talents into profession. Of course, that's a very major word for that. And it also helps you become friend to everyone. I think she's doing well by grooming people in that line. And of course, they are all passionate about what they do. And that's why I told the Kenyan Film Commission, the commissioner, and of course the guy who's responsible for, is it critiquing or something? Ezekiel. Yes. Yes, a very controversial but good guy. So yeah, I had a meeting with him yesterday, and I told him, I said, listen, you guys need to focus on the film industry because it pays a lot. It creates jobs opportunities for youths and adults. It helps people in so many ways.
Tell me about your legacy. What would you like to be remembered for? What would you like your children, when they're asked about their dad and you're far gone?
Talking about legacy, I don't only see myself as a filmmaker. I always have this passion of giving back. From our war, the ladies were affected the most, and so they're left behind academically and so forth. So I decided, coming up with my foundation, and it's fast.
The idea, actually, I was following you on social media. The idea came while you were in Kenya.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. And it's called the Dream Depot Foundation for Girls Education. No disrespect, guys, but I'm focusing on the girls because they're left behind from where I come from. So it's the Dream Depot Foundation for Girls Education. I want to see how I can help them, even if I'm paying tuition for maybe 50 girls, and see how I can solicit sponsorship for more and have them go to school and learn for a better future. So I want people to remember me for impacting lives.
Wonderful, I love that.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Debo. It was a wonderful interview. I've learned a lot. Very inspired.
Thank you.